Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you are, you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants, and strategists that specialise in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website, dkpco.com.au, or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. Fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
Buying your electricity from the big energy companies is now the most expensive way to power your home. In fact, the average electricity bill in Australia has more than doubled in the last 15 years. But not for the ones who went solar. Unlike your electricity bill, the price of solar has actually come down, and there's also government rebates available. So what are you waiting for? Join the 2 million households already saving hundreds of dollars every year. See how much your roof could be making you at solarpowerco.com.au. Go solar and get $500 cash back with the Solar Power Co, Australia's most trusted solar brand. solarpowerco.com.au.
You're listening to the State of Our Football Nation on FNR.
Well, here we go, another program. This time, sort of half and half. We've got Josh Parrish in the studio. You've got me on Zoom. And we'll have a couple of guests over the next hour. One will be Bob Gordon, who is the president of Football Tasmania. We're looking forward to catching up with him, talking about the state of the game in the Apple Isle, and more importantly, asking him the question about whether or not he believes that there is a potential for a licence, an A-League licence for Tasmania over the next year or two. And our other guest will be Socceroo, someone who's been there, done that, played the game in the old NSL, was a creative star and loved to score goals. We're talking about the great Peter Catholis, and he will be joining us via Zoom from Sydney. I believe he's had a round of golf today, and he's shot a pretty hot score off the stick, which will make him even better to talk to. But State of Our Football Nation is our weekly program on FNR. Josh Parrish and I lock horns, discuss and chew the fat about just about everything that's gone on in the game over the past week. And what a week it's been. We've seen the Olyroos and the Matildas play and compete at the Olympics. We've seen the Olympics open up despite all the naysayers saying it would never get going. Mind you, it may end a little sooner than we imagined, Josh. What are you making of the last 24 hours?
Yeah, look, George, I've got some mixed feelings about how our national teams have performed at the Olympics, as we'll get into. It sounds as if Peter Catholis was fired up, judging by his golf score. So I love it when Peter's fired up. I'm looking forward to chatting to him. But, George, my main concern was for you this afternoon when you told me you had done yourself a bit of an injury. Have you been on the receiving end of a studs-up tackle, George? Or?
Yeah, well, actually, it's a very good point you make. I was moving something and slipped, and it may as well have been someone kicking me in the shins. It's been a long time since I've been kicked in the shins, and I well remember now why I wore shin pads, and I was the goalkeeper. Yeah, there you go.
Did you go down like the Egyptian keeper went down last night?
Oh, please do not mention the Egyptian keeper, who, by the way, played pretty well.
Yeah, but he had a great game.
I just wish, what is it with this modern fetish? Since we changed the rules and made the goalkeepers almost sacred, you can't touch them, you can't bump them, you can't even compete in the air with them, because Lord knows, should you touch them, you might get a red card. I mean, as an old goalkeeper, I've always been a great believer that it's a contest, and it should be that. If you do something unfair, if you go in with an intent to hurt, that's anywhere on the field. You look after them. The referees should look after them. But this business of where we've got to, and some of the antics of the Egyptian keeper, that weren't required, they weren't necessary. None of the Australians went after him at any stage. They competed for corners. We've got some tall timber up there. And Harry Suter got a couple of yellow cards in a couple of 2 or 3 matches. And for both instances, there wasn't one malicious or any malicious intent involved in any of them, and yet he got 2 yellow cards, which is just crazy stuff.
Yeah, look, it was a great source of frustration, but I think the frustration, to be honest, George, was mainly born of the fact that Australia could barely string 3 passes forwards together last night.
In the first half, I heartily concur. I thought our intent was to just hold the fort, and I thought, why are we doing this? Yes, they are the African under-23 champions, or the under-19 champions of Africa. They can play good football. They've got some seriously talented young boys, but we showed no intent, and that to me was probably the biggest disappointment of the whole campaign. Either the Matildas or the Olyroos, because up until then, I thought, against some terrific competition, people and players who have some serious experience, I thought our youngsters have done particularly well.
Yeah, look, there were some great individual performances, but I felt as if the in-game management in both the Spain game and the Egypt game was subpar. We played well for 15 minutes last night, and that was after the halftime change that brought Daniel Arzani on and showed that he should have started the game in the first place. And then on the 60 or 62-minute mark, on comes usually a centre-back, but turned centre-forward in J. Rich Bugaloo, who had no idea what he was doing up there and was just set up to fail in that position. And that constricted the space.
Was it a bit of a Hail Mary by Arnie?
If it was a Hail Mary, it came 25 minutes too early, George. I can understand putting a centre-back up front as a battering ram in the last 5 minutes of the game or in stoppage time when it truly is desperation stations and you are lumping long diagonal balls up the field. But the strategy didn't change. We just had this big lumbering guy who just barely played in that position as an ornament to the attack. He had no involvement. He had nothing to put his head on. It was a totally disjointed bit of tactical thinking. And it honestly was a moment of panic from Graham Arnold that I think cost us progression to the knockout stage. If the players had been kept on the field as they were, and Australia had a really good spell in that 15 minutes with Arzani and Tilio combining, started to really play and really want the ball and present between the lines. If we just continue with that strategy and not press the panic button quite so early, I think we could be talking about a quarterfinal matchup with Brazil now instead of lamenting what might have been.
It's interesting you say that because our captain, Deng, who has been a tower of strength throughout the whole tournament, I thought that header deserved, a goal. But commendations to their keeper who got down very late and got a hand on it, a strong hand on it, and pushed it around the corner. That was terrific. That was a very good chance. As was another one that was it Marco Tilio who cracked it, or was it Arzani who also had a fair shot?
I think it was Tilio who laid off the pass and Arzani who had the shot.
Yeah,
I believe there were a couple of instances.
There were a couple of instances. Another good save too by the keeper from a direct shot, and it could well have been Marco Tilio, who at no stage was he in the Australian Olyroos team until the first game. What did you make of that?
Very strange that he was left out of the original squad, given the performance he put in during the A-League season. I have perhaps been his biggest cheerleader at the station all campaign. I feel vindicated by his performances, both at the business end of the A-League season, in the grand final, and now on the international stage. A blessing in disguise that a couple of players were withdrawn from the squad late, and he went as one of the emergency reserves because he was either the best or the second best performer in the whole squad, I would argue.
I would have thought, based on the performances of last night, I would have thought Tilio, Arzani and Deng were people who you could say on the CV, big tick, came through really, really well. One of my favourites has been Connor Metcalf, but to me, I've got to say, sometimes the season can be too long for some players, and he's been asked to do an awful lot, and they've been up and active for a pretty long stretch of games, and he's still a growing boy.
Yeah.
Again, asked to do an awful lot. I don't want to put a heavy burden on him, but I just thought he started to look a bit tired. Some of that lovely decision making, some of those lovely passes that we saw when he was playing for Australia in that central role against Argentina, especially in that opening game. They were pretty lovely. They were right on par. They were world-class passes. Didn't see too much of that yesterday or overnight, and that could well be because of the pressure of the Egyptians, who showed quite some skill, didn't they, right across the pitch?
They did indeed, George. They did indeed, and I was quite impressed with them. I felt as if Australia set up too defensively against a side who was yet to score in the tournament and invited
pressure. Can you believe
pressure.
that they haven't scored? Can you believe that they played?
Yes and no. I mean, they have some talented players, of course, and Ramadan Sobhi, we know, has played in the Premier League and is quite a talent. You know, Higazi at the back, these are known quantities, and some of their youngsters did impress. But I felt as if Australia made them look better than they actually are. The way we invited pressure onto ourselves by setting up so defensively and not taking the game on in the first half. There were certain moments playing out from the back where there was a real lack of confidence among the central midfield players to come and present for the ball and play through the centre of midfield. And as a result, some of the defenders were caught high and dry, and there were some terrible turnovers. I felt Connor Metcalfe was one of the worst defenders in that regard, and his best work is done further up the park when he can get into the final third. Then he seems to have the confidence to play those riskier passes and make those sort of third man late runs into the box. Whereas in early phases of possession, he can look a little bit lost, and Denny Jonro had to do the heavy lifting for him. Maybe this wasn't the game for him, and it should have been a rotation, as you say, with Bacchus or Devlin coming in. But I did feel as if Australia, the way we set up, the reactive way we looked to play in that game, the lack of any plan to play through the Egyptian press, and we knew they were going to press us because they needed to win the game.
Well, it just goes to show you. It just goes to show you how silly that yellow card was. A very tough yellow card for Nathaniel Atkinson, who's been one of the stars of the Olyroos campaign. He would have been one of those players that Arnie would have been looking to break, because that's what he's been doing basically every game. And he's done it throughout the season, especially when he came back after that long layoff from injury when no one thought he would return for Melbourne City. And from the moment he stepped back on the pitch in that last weeks of the A-League and into the final series, he was a revelation because he virtually picked up where he left off, and he showed us just how much confidence he has. And he's been given a great deal of confidence with that lovely ability to search and spurt away or get away from whoever is covering him. He was making forays and opening up the play, and we didn't see any of that because there was no one else in the Australian team capable from the backlines to do it. Fair or unfair?
I think it's fair, George. I think he was the most sorely missed player of the three suspended players. But, George, we better get to our Zoom guest because we've got the president of Football Tasmania ready to join us.
Can't keep him holding up.
We'll take a break here on State of Our Football Nation. We've got Bob Gordon on the other side.
Are you looking to change your destiny in life? Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you are, you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants, and strategists that specialise in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website, dkpco.com.au, or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. Fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
Buying your electricity from the big energy companies is now the most expensive way to power your home. In fact, the average electricity bill in Australia has more than doubled in the last 15 years. But not for the ones who went solar. Unlike like your electricity bill, the price of solar has actually come down. And there's also government rebates available. So what are you waiting for? Join the 2 million households already saving hundreds of dollars every year. See how much your roof could be making you at solarpowerco.com.au. Go solar and get $500 cash back with the Solar Power Co, Australia's most trusted solar brand. solarpowerco.com.au.
Since 1998, Lanco Group has been providing superior civil engineering solutions and advice to developers, local government and service authorities across Australia. Lanco Group is known for delivering sustainable, efficient solutions. By working closely with clients, Lanco Group is able to meet the complex infrastructure requirements for residential, commercial and industrial developments on time, on budget. Find out more at lancogroup.com.au. Lanco Group, your business partner for engineering solutions.
You're listening to the State of Our Football Nation on FNR.
State of Our Football Nation, George Danikian, Josh Parrish, and our special guest, the President of Football Tasmania, Bob Gordon, joins us via Zoom. Welcome, Bob.
Thanks, George. It's great to be meeting by Zoom and having a talk to you.
Well, we'd love ordinarily to be able to catch up with you in person, either have you here or us down there talking about football, but this will do for the time being. It's been a very awkward time and a time of great disruption in Australia. Tasmania, not so much. You keep telling me that life is very different on the Apple Isle. Is that right?
It's been up and down. So we went down into lockdown March last year for pretty well 3 months, pretty hard. And as you're probably aware, all the member federations in consultation with Football Australia decided that we would postpone the season because there was too much uncertainty. I think unfortunately Victoria was the worst affected. We managed to get a full season but later, which caused a few challenges in terms of scheduling grounds. Our biggest challenge down here is just the lack of grass that we've got available for our participants. According to the Ausplay stats, we've got 40,000 participants. The next biggest team sport's got half that.
Wow.
And
is government talking? Are we talking to government? Are they receptive to the fact that we've got some great numbers, boys and girls? And of course, one of them has been a shining light for the Olyroos. Nathaniel Atkinson has been a shining light for Melbourne City, but he's been a revelation at the Olympic tournament, playing some wonderful football and leading the way, and just showing us what a young boy from Riverside can do in Launceston.
Yeah, the only time I've been to Melbourne in the last 18 months is to go to the A-League Grand Final and watch Nathaniel play. And I thought in that game he showed real leadership qualities. He inspired his team towards the end when they were all looking a bit tired. I thought he did a great game. And having travelled to Japan many times in their summer, the heat and humidity there is just one of the most sapping things you can have. You're just exhausted just walking from place to place. And for him to keep running up and down like he did was just really impressive. And again, I think he lifted the team. And again, one of the things...
We missed him last night, Bob.
We did. Yeah, I think they all looked a bit ragged after half-time. I think, the conditions probably got to them a bit, and they were short a couple of their better players, and I think it just they got a bit worn out.
I'm really impressed that you can give us that insight, because people readily make a judgment on what they see, and unless they've experienced, as you have, these conditions in Japan, they can't possibly realise how difficult they are to play in.
Correct. And I think the last time there was a World Cup, it was Japan and South Korea.
That's right.
I managed to get to one game in South Korea because I was doing some business there, and they said, "Would you like to go to a game?" And I just thought they meant a local game. We turned up, and it was in Busan down the south. But it was a lot later in the year, so it wasn't quite as. It is really stifling, and it's really quite draining. It's probably fine in the pool and kayaking and maybe even rowing, but I think in the longer athletics events, it will really hit quite a few of them.
Well, it's something to keep in mind. What have you made? What have you made of the last few months, Football Tasmania, of course, you've had some changes on the board. You've got some new people now.
We've had a fairly consistent board, and we've got a skills-based board, so we're a bit like Football Australia. Our board is based on skills, and you can't have a position in a club. So it's and again, we've got some pretty impressive people on it. There'll be a few changes in a couple of months. We try and keep a rotation and keep the board refreshed. Again, I think we're probably one of the few jurisdictions that has 50-50 men and women, and we've got a mixture of experienced business people, lawyers, chartered accountants, and it has been pretty tough for everyone since COVID hit. For a while, if we hadn't got JobKeeper and the state government hadn't agreed to kick in some money to keep us going so we could restart the season, it would have been pretty tough for everyone. And you asked before about government support. We've been really pleased with the support we've got both from the state government during the recent state election and the state opposition, who basically matched their commitments. And at a federal level, of course, the sports minister is a Tasmanian from Devonport, Richard Colbeck, who's a great supporter of the game. I think it was the day he was appointed as sports minister, I rang him and said, Richard, I think you need to go to the World Cup in France. And he went in quite, it was a real effort for him to go. But I think he came back with an understanding of just how big the world game is and the huge opportunities there are for Australia and New Zealand when the World Cup comes here in 2023. And we've been working really closely.
I was going to say, it sounds like you're excited by that possibility.
Yeah, we have the nation's highest participation rate of females in Tasmania.
Is that right?
And it's increasing quite substantially. But again, it comes back to the challenge of just not enough suitable grounds. Have you been to Hobart?
Yes, I have. And I've been to Launceston as well. It's been some time. The question I was going to ask you is, what are the chances, the possibilities of artificial pitches coming in and sort of stepping in and being a sort of halfway area? If we can't get the full grounds that we need, what about artificial pitches? Can they help?
So we've got two artificial pitches currently in Hobart.
Right.
And we've got some funding from Andrew Wilkie, our local MP, through the federal government for another artificial pitch in the northern suburbs of Hobart. But one of the challenges is both Hobart and Launceston, the only flat bits of ground used to be tips.
Yes.
Or landfill. And so it's a bit more expensive. We do have one location in Launceston that we're hoping that the federal member for Bass, Bridget Archer, may be able to provide some funds for. It would again be a community facility. So most of our facilities are used by other people, local groups, those sorts of things. But yeah, it would be great because we have to make the best use of the available space we have, and that includes better lighting so that you can train at night. And again, I think if you look at an artificial pitch with good lights, it's probably worth 4 grass pitches without lights in terms of the amount of use you can get out of the ground.
Absolutely. Josh Parrish has been very keen to hear what your thoughts are on an A-League licence for Tassie.
Well, it's obviously been pretty challenging the last 2 years for the A-League with the separation from Football Australia and all the transition arrangements. And then, of course, 2 disrupted seasons with COVID has made it very, very difficult for everyone. But as we keep on saying, you can't really have a national competition without every state in it. Now, of course, Victorian rules manages to do it because it's just run from Melbourne and it's really only Melbourne-based teams that just change their name and move to another city. But
we love you, Bob. We love you, Bob. You tell them. You tell them.
But in our sport, there have been quite a few Tasmanians, and there still are, that were playing in the A-League. But the big challenge for us is there's even more that have been selected in the play-on squads or the Joey squads. And it's a huge effort to leave home when you're 15 or 16. I mean, I went through that with my oldest son. And my third son, one of his best mates, they played in the state teams together. He ended up, his parents moved to England so he could play in the Premier League, which he did for several years. He's just come back to Tassie now. But it's a huge commitment. Whereas if we can get, and it's not just A-League, it's Y-League and W-League team in Tassie, then that offers the pathway for those kids. It offers them the chance to see what it's like to train and play at a higher level. And my oldest son was playing the top league in Tasmania when he was 15. That was the only competition really that matched his capacity. So it is pretty difficult. And there's certainly a lot of support from the state government. The Premier has come out in principle supporting an A-League team and supporting the construction of a multiple-use rectangular stadium, which could also be used for other rectangular field sports like rugby union and rugby league, and also for concerts and those sorts of things. So we're well down the path.
I was going to say, we talked to David Clarkson last week, and he said to me that he had some wonderful sponsors lined up a couple of years ago, and I'm sure that given another opportunity, there is a fantastic chance to see Tasmania finally get anointed as another A-League city, and a meaningful one, because as you said, there's a tremendous participation rate. We'd love to see it translated into players in major competition, wouldn't we, Josh?
Absolutely. I was going to ask, given the biggest female participation percentage being in Tasmania, would Tasmania consider going in for a W League licence as a standalone or as a starting point to try and get into the A-League, a la Canberra United?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'd probably prefer to go the whole hog. Again, if we're really serious about developing the game, then, I often go to the juniors because our grandson plays, and it's just sheer joy. It's just wonderful to watch those littlies running around, having the time of their life. And if they can see what it's like to get to the next level and the next level and the next level, then we'll keep them in the game. They learn responsibility. They learn teamwork. They learn a whole range of life skills from our game that I don't think other sports have the same sort of capacity to develop. And what we'd really like, and that's where I get the joy out of my involvement with the game, is really the littlies. I love watching the Matildas and the Socceroos, but when I ask 5 and 6 year olds, they're not really sure who they are. They know they've got to play, the next primary school next week. But when you say you're watching the national teams, they do when they get to teenagers. But at that level, they just love the game. It's just sheer joy. And we need to make sure that there's the capacity for those kids who just want to play socially, And for those that aspire to make a living out of it or play for their country, we need to have a pathway for them, and they need to be able to see it.
Bob Gordon is our guest on State of Our Football Nation on Football Nation Radio, FNR. George Daniki, Josh Parrish. Bob, I would love you to promise us that we do this more regularly. We'd love to keep a pathway to Tassie and to give not only Football Tasmania every opportunity to tell its story, but to keep building and telling us about the state of play and how things are progressing, especially as we all prepare for a World Cup in less than 2 years from today. Isn't that amazing?
Pretty exciting, really.
Yeah. Is there any chance that we may well see some of the games played in Hobart or Launceston?
No, we didn't win the lottery to get games here, but we've been working really hard with the state government and with the federal government to have the capacity for 3 base camps.
Right, so training facilities for the teams,
yeah, correct. And, we've been telling them all that, most of Australia's a big desert, but we're quite different down here, and it'll be much more like training in their own countries.
Bob Gordon, all you've got to do is tell them it's in the water and show them that Nathaniel Atkinson is a Riverside boy that came from there, and what drives him is the sort of magic elixir that you can offer all those guest teams that come down under.
Correct. That's what we'll be doing. Thanks, George. Great marketing. Great marketing there.
Bob, all the very, very best to you. Thanks so very much. And let's make sure we do this regularly. Bob Gordon, who's the president of Football Tasmania, joining us on FNR. We'll take a break. George. Come back after this. Thank you very much. There you go, Josh.
Buying your electricity from the big energy companies is now the most expensive way to power your home. In fact, the average electricity bill in Australia has more than doubled in the last 15 years. But not for the ones who went solar. Unlike like your electricity bill, the price of solar has actually come down. And there's also government rebates available. So what are you waiting for? Join the 2 million households already saving hundreds of dollars every year. See how much your roof could be making you at solarpowerco.com.au. Go solar and get $500 cash back with the Solar Power Co., Australia's most trusted solar brand. solarpowerco.com.au.
Since 1998, Lanco Group has been providing superior civil engineering solutions and advice to developers, local government and service authorities across Australia. Lanco Group is known for delivering sustainable, efficient solutions. By working closely with clients, Lanco Group is able to meet the complex infrastructure requirements for residential, commercial and industrial developments on time, on budget. Find out more at lancogroup.com.au. Lanco Group, your business partner for engineering solutions.
Are you looking to change your destiny in life? Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you are, you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants and strategists that specialise in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website dkpco.com.au or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. Fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
With this great sporting nation who has yet to embrace fully the world's greatest game. And for so long I've tried to have the game accepted. And when I'm up to the big football field in the sky, I just want people just to remember I told you so.
And suddenly the complexion of the game changes. Let's hope it doesn't, but this is the best period for Iran in the match. Ali Doi, danger for Australia here, the flag's down!
You just feel for them, not just the boys, they are representative of so many people who make this game their life. It's just, I can't say anything.
All right.
Especially as they have the impetus. Aloisi, Cahill, Cahill! Tim Cahill has done it again! What a goal by Tim Cahill! 2-1 Australia! Oh, it's a wonderful moment in Kaiserslautern! And Tim Cahill has come off the bench and maybe won the match for the Socceroos.
You're listening to FNR, Football Nation Radio.
You're listening to FNR, Football Nation Radio.
Voor Frank de Boer. Frank de Boer speelt de bal. Heel goed naar Dennis Bergkamp. Dennis Bergkamp. Dennis Bergkamp neemt de bal aan. Dennis Bergkamp. Dennis Bergkamp. Dennis Bergkamp. Dennis Bergkamp. Dennis Bergkamp. Oh! Frank de Boer speelt de bal aan Dennis Bergkamp. Die neemt de bal feilloos aan. En hij schiet de bal erin. We spelen nog officieel 20 seconden. Dennis Bergkamp. 2-1.
FNR, Football Nation Radio.
Das ist kein Abseits. Stellungsfehler. Hector. Und da ist das Tor. Die Iren führen mit 1:0 in der 70. Minute. Shane Long. Boah.
You're listening to FNR, Football Nation Radio.
Buying your electricity from the big energy companies is now the most expensive way to power your home. In fact, the average electricity bill in Australia has more than doubled in the last 15 years. But not for the ones who went solar. Unlike like your electricity bill, the price of solar has actually come down. And there's also government rebates available. So what are you waiting for? Join the 2 million households already saving hundreds of dollars every year. See how much your roof could be making you at solarpowerco.com.au. Go solar and get $500 cash back with the Solar Power Co., Australia's most trusted solar brand. solarpowerco.com.au.
Are you looking to change your destiny in life? Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you are, you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants, and strategists that specialise in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website, dkpco.com.au, or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. Fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
Cambiasso. This is where Argentina can be very patient indeed. I've watched their youth teams do this. Just play the ball endlessly around the edge of their opponent's penalty area, then suddenly break with devastating consequences. Saviola, Cambiasso. Cambiasso! They've done it! They've done it! And scored a fantastic goal! How many passes did they put together there? You'd need a calculator.
FNR, Football Nation Radio. You're listening to the State of Our Football Nation on FNR.
State of Our Football Nation on FNR. George Danikian, Josh Parrish, and another special guest. They call him the Cat, Peter Catholis. Welcome, mate. How are you?
Good, boys. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Now, all our spies have told us you've had a good day playing golf. Of course, in the current restrictions, that's all you're allowed to do at the moment. But you have had a chance. You have had a chance to see some football over the last week or so at the Olympics. What have you made of one, the Matildas, and two, the Olyroos?
Yeah, look, I've watched both the girls and the boys. With the boys, look, the boys tried well. I mean, they put in a good effort, good shift, 100% effort there. We were just a little bit short yesterday. Good performance against Argentina. I thought against Spain, we were sort of we couldn't do much there. We were outplayed. We were just trying to defend, and hopefully we could sort of sneak something, a result. But that wasn't going to happen. I believe they're going to be one of the favourites, Spain. And then with Egypt, of course, we had to get a result, and unfortunately, they dominated. I believe they dominated the game, and they deserved the result at the end.
I don't discount that at all, Peter. Josh and I have been talking about that thing called intent, and that thing called a guidance from the coach. When you set up a team, you want it to play in a particular fashion. You have an idea, or the players have an idea of how they're going to go about it, attacking. And it seemed to me that we had lost a few players through suspensions. Nathaniel Atkinson, who's been very, very good. We really missed him last night, didn't we?
Oh, big time, huge. I mean, and I think Dang playing as a right back, he looked a little bit lost there. We did. We certainly made Atkinson, runs coming forward. It wasn't happening. But look, the midfield, I believe the midfield was the key. I think, we don't dominate teams. And the thing is, unless we start dominating teams and putting our authority on the game, we're not really going to, we're going to push these teams. That's what happened. Look, even with Argentina, when we were pretty lucky with Argentina, we lost, they lost a player. But, we need to start dominating teams. And I think midfield players need to sort of hang on to the ball. We gave away possession too much the other day. Yep. But look, overall, the boys tried really, really hard. I mean, there were some really good young players there, a lot of good talent. They gave it all. But look, we're a bit short, and I think we need to understand it's not. I don't think it's Arnie's fault or any coach's fault. It's the way we develop our players. I think the midfield players, and the strikers, we need to refine these players more.
What did you make of young Tilio, who was not going to be in the tournament until he was in the tournament? Young Marco.
Look, a fantastic story. Look, I've got to tell you, I share this story. He was in my team in the under-11s. You there?
Yeah, we're here. So he was one of yours in the under-11s.
Yeah, I had him there for a year, Marco. And, I was so happy for him. But look, he wasn't involved in the game as much.
Peter, hang on. We don't readily get this insight into some of these young stars, these young talented players. Give us a bit of a background. I know from now that he's been at Melbourne City with us, I've found out that he played futsal for up until he was about 14 and didn't really play too much on the big fields. What was he like when you had him?
Well, let me tell you, he look, I had to pick a squad from the under-11s from about 200 players.
Right.
And he stood out back then, even, as a 10-year-old. He still had that ability on the ball, quick feet. He's still got that, you know what I mean? And it was a pleasure to watch him come and play for Melbourne City and do really well.
Josh has been one of his great supporters, as have I, and some of the boys at FNR have followed him for quite some time. The thing that people don't readily appreciate is he has no backlift, and he can hurt that ball. He really can. He can hit that ball, and you don't see it coming.
Look, I'll tell you what, he's a great talent. He'll be going overseas very soon. There's no doubt about that. He's got a lot of confidence. He can do things out of nothing, the unexpected. And, this is these days, these players are the X Factor players that all the teams need in the world of football.
You've always talked about them. Every time you and I have talked to football, you've always said, these are the players that give you great excitement. These are the players you love to play with, because out of nothing comes something. And we've been blessed. It was some of the creativity that you used to fire up. When you would come into a game, you could light up the room and also, out of nowhere, unleash a volley from 25, 30 metres, and the stanchions would be reverberating for about 10 minutes after you hit the ball. So you must get an awful lot of pleasure seeing Azani, Tilio. What did you think of Azani the last couple of games?
Well, Azani was very impressive in the last game. I was very impressed. I mean, the first game when he played, he looked out of sorts. Confidence was low. The boy hasn't played for a long time. Actually, I played golf with his uncle today.
Did he stop talking?
He was so happy for the boy, and because he's been, he's had a hard time. But look, that third game, the second half when he came on, he played in a number 10 role. He didn't play as a winger. He came on and, he basically bossed the game. And him and Bacchus combining with Tilio, the team looked a different team. And I think if we would have started with these type of players, I think we would have done a lot better, because Egypt were on the back foot in the second half.
Peter, you mentioned earlier some of the players are letting go of the ball too quickly. We don't really hold on to the ball in midfield. When Azani came on and he started combining with Tilio and Bacchus had some good moments as well, we suddenly had players that were willing to embrace the risk of actually keeping the ball under pressure, of dribbling past players in tight areas. And does that come back to the way we're developing our players? I see a lot from coaches at junior level: 1 touch, 2 touch, get rid of the ball, ball speed, keep it moving. I feel like that discourages the development of talents like Azani and Tilio, who really changed the game for Australia.
That's a great point, because look, at the end of the day, players with creativity, they need to be encouraged to go for it, to sort of try things. It's not like playing sideways and backwards and trying to keep possession. The idea is to, when you've got the ball in the middle of the park, you need to go forward. You need to, you look at Spain. the way Spain play. You see players in the middle of the park, and there's a direct pass, to the strikers. That through ball or that with that accuracy, or running at players. We need to do that from the midfield, not only from the wing backs. We need midfield players to actually do that. And if you notice when Azani and Tilia actually made runs into the box, we look dangerous. Australia, that, and that's the way we need to approach games and to so we can win games.
Let's talk about the Matildas. They've got a very important game coming up against Great Britain on Friday night. And of course, some of our stars who have been playing in Britain, Sam Kerr and others, will be playing against some of their teammates. What do you reckon? You've played against some of your teammates in really important games. How hard is it, or how easy is it, Pete?
Oh, look, mate, it's just it's a game. At the end of the day, you've got to do your best for your team. At the end of the day, it's like, you're playing against your teammates. It's just another game. You've got to do your best. I mean, the girls are, they've got to perform. They've got to hold the ball, not give it away again. They've got some good talented players there. I saw them play. They, a lot of speed, a lot of energy. So look, they can if they're disciplined, I think they can do well. They can get a result.
What do you make of Gustafsson taking over the reins of the Matildas? Everyone was concerned about the very slow start of the Matildas, but he's got them playing with a bit more purpose, with a bit more fire, and if they can show that against Great Britain, we might get a result we'll be pleased with.
Oh, look, for sure. Look, he's a good coach. I would have liked to have Alan Stajic instead, but...
Oh, yeah. you, Josh, and about 5 million Australian football fans who felt very...
Sorry, I had to mention that, George. Sorry, I had to mention that.
You go right ahead because, look, Alan Stajic has been a joy for us. He's been a tremendous contributor and supporter. We feel like a great many football fans in Australia that he was harshly done by, but what a terrific job he did for the Mariners in this last season.
Yeah, look, he's a terrific human being. He's a terrific coach. It's unfortunate what happened back in the day, but I wish him all the best. I mean, at the end of the day, he's proven his critics or his wrong that he's a good coach. And look, at the end of the day, he'll do well whatever he does, wherever he goes.
We're talking to Peter Catholis on State of Our Football Nation on FNR, Josh Parrish, George Danikian. Peter, we spoke to Bob Gordon, the president of Football Tasmania, and he was in Japan, I think it was for the World Cup, wasn't it? And for some business, Josh. Mm-hmm. He was there and he was telling us just how hot and how stifling the conditions are, and we shouldn't basically criticise the players too harshly when you consider how tough it is to play there.
Oh, look, George, there's no doubt. I mean, the weather's... but look, it's for both teams. At the end of the day, if you have to conserve energy, you need to manage that. Look, it's not an excuse for the results. At the end of the day, I look at the games and I'm thinking if players in the middle of the park, which I specialised, yep, and that's my cup of tea. And I look at them and the way some of the decision making, some of the way what they did at particular moments. If they could do things better, we would have been a better team. Better decisions. Shots out. Having more shots, more direct, running at players. And I think what we need to learn is this, and I've been saying it for years on end. we need to, players. We've got good players, good talented players. We're just going to finish these guys. We're going to refine these guys to be better in their positions. That's all. A left back or a central midfield player or a striker. They know the runs. How to make the runs, how to check off and get look for the ball, receive the ball. Just different. Just refining players in the positions. That's what I think. That's what Australia we need, and we could really compete with everyone.
Speaking of needing, you spoke, as you said, or you played golf with the uncle of Daniel Azani. Any insight into where he might be playing next?
Mate, look, I didn't get that far, but look, this guy, the guy I played golf with, he's an Iranian international. His name is Karim Ghiasi, 60 times for Iran. He's look, he'll probably tell me. I will ask him. But we shared good moments today, and he was really happy with his performance. And we wish Daniel all the best. And look, if he kicks on, he's going to be an asset for the Socceroos in the World Cup.
I agree with you.
That's the way I can see it.
What I was going to ask you, Marco Tilio, does he have one more season at City before he goes overseas, or does he jump as quickly as he can?
I don't think he might. I don't think he'll have a choice. I think that the good scouts out there would have picked him already. I wish him all the best. I think if I was looking from overseas for players in Australia, he would be one of the guys that I'd be looking at, because he's got an X factor, and I wouldn't be surprised if they've already got him in the in for an overseas team already, George.
Josh Parrish has him on his wall in the bedroom at home.
Not
he hasn't
quite,
told
George.
anybody. He hasn't told anybody, but
not quite.
We're
But
sure
it's not much of an exaggeration, to be honest. I really think the sky's the limit for this guy. I really do.
I agree.
I mean, he's got everything, and he's got that little bit of rebellious spirit in him that he's willing to embrace a bit of risk. He's willing to not always listen to exactly what the coach wants him to do, because he's willing to take that risk on, take on a player, run into a position where he's not supposed to be, and be more attacking than his assignment, and then it kind of leads to a goal and the coach forgives him. He's got that little bit of rebelliousness about him.
Josh, you are so right. And the thing is, these type of players, these are the players that make a difference. And, teams or scouts or people overseas, this is what they're looking for. They're looking for people that can do things out of nothing. And he's got that confidence to be able to do things out of nothing. So, I wish him all the best.
Peter Catholis has been our guest. We've been very fortunate today on State of Our Football Nation to catch up with two different guests offering up two different perspectives, but both have shown us and told us that they've been impressed with both the Olyroos and the Matildas. You got a projection for Friday night, or a prediction for Friday night, Peter Catholis?
What game? The Matildas, yeah. Is it the
Matildas Team GB
against Great Britain? It's the quarter-final game.
I think we can do I think we can beat Great Britain. I think we can. We've got the energy, and we've got the nous to get over the British.
Well, there you go.
I'm not as confident, I have to say. I don't share your confidence, but I wish I did. But their performance against the USA didn't fill me with confidence. The fact that Matilda sort of abandoned the centre of midfield as a playmaking option, I hope that was just for getting a point in that game, and that doesn't represent the strategy against Team GB on Friday night. But yeah, it gave me a few pauses for reservation. But George, we better wrap this thing up.
I tell you, I've seen a few players with a bit of they've got a bit of bit of adrenaline, a bit of fire in those Matildas. They're not going to give up. They're going to run, and they're going to make life hard for the British.
There's certainly no doubting the physical fitness and the competitive tenacity of this squad. So that's what we've got on our side. But George, we've got the history show coming up.
Absolutely. Peter Catholis, thank you for joining us, and good luck with the golf over the next few weeks, because it's very difficult getting out to play during restrictions.
Mate, that's the only thing we can do. We can't do anything else. Thank you, guys.
Stay safe. Stay safe, my boy.
Thank you.
There you go. You've been listening to State of Our Football Nation on FNR. A couple of guests, Bob Gordon from Tasmania and Peter Catholis from Sydney, joining Josh Parrish and George Thanikian. Until next week, thank you for joining us.
You're listening to the State of Our Football Nation on FNR.